Technology Director at Tri-Rivers Career Center and at Gold Digital Academy. So Mike's been a good customer, a great customer of X-Tech Partners, and you know, I just over the years of knowing Mike, Mike's done a lot of professional development. He just excels with, you know, a lot of the OS platforms with Google and Apple and with Windows. So as a favor, I asked Mike to come in when Stacy reached out to me to say, hey, you know, is there any way you could provide some training? So first person that popped in my mind that, you know, I really respect and feel like he's going to deliver a great training session for you is Mike. This is one of his assistants at Tri-Rivers, Thomas Beaver. So Thomas actually comes through their program. Mike can maybe elaborate that on that a little bit. But so I'm gonna let Mike take over. You know, I think he has maybe just a basic agenda. But if there's things that you guys want to know, let's make this a very interactive session and see how we can grow this and really enhance. I mean, I work with a lot of school districts that have, you know, iPads or Chromebooks or, you know, multiple devices, and it really takes the teachers that really enhance it and accept it and really want to take it on to really allow it to enhance the student's learning experience in the classroom. You know, I'll have to be stepping out. I got some other commitments later on today, but Mike's going to be staying here for the training.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Do we have the lights? Can we do partial lights so we can see this better, or does it take the whole room down?
I think it takes the whole room.
Oh, it takes the whole room down? Okay, can we see it okay? As we go through? All right, if we need to enhance that, or since this is recorded, I got a face for radio, we might turn the lights off and take a look at this. But,
yes, that's being recorded, so make sure that while he's speaking that they're quiet,
no
okay?
drawing paper. I'm glad to be here. Spent time with you this morning. I think we have until 11 o'clock, is that correct?
11:30.
11:30, okay,
If you're
great.
willing.
So we have a lot of time. We'll be taking a potty break in between, so we won't sit here the entire time. We'll probably go 50 minutes, take 5 and 50 and 5 and something like that. You know, keep going. I did bring Thomas Beaver with us. He is a graduate of Tri-Rivers Career Center. He's at Marion Technical College, and we brought him to do a number of things. One, he's very, very knowledgeable, so if there's things that I can't answer, he probably can. And if he can't, then we'll make sure that we take the question down and we'll have the answer provided for you. Part of what we'd like to do today is we're going to share a folder with you, and we're going to put files in there and share them with you so you have access to that. And I haven't created it before this class, so we're going to go ahead and do that together to see how that works. And any documents that we can provide for you will be there. And then anything you have, we're going to create a question and answer document. He's going to write the question down. If you don't know the answer, we'll make sure it's provided in that Q&A document that you'll have access to as well. Okay? Just to get a little bit of background from your end, so I know what we have going on is, can you tell me a little bit about your experience with Google, how long you've been using it, how long you've been using Chromebooks, where you're at as far as knowledge, so we can kind of tailor what we're doing. Like you said, we have kind of a base agenda, but we really want to tailor it to you. And we want this to be as interactive as possible. I don't want you sitting there listening to me. Nobody wants to sit there and listen to me for 2 hours. So we want you to do work and make this meaningful for you. So everything you do will be, you know, in your account. And I'm assuming all of you have Google accounts. Is that correct? Are all your accounts managed through the Central Management Console?
Yes.
We have set them up. Yeah, they
Okay.
just received their Chromebooks. We just enrolled them. They just got their wireless
All right.
network. So very.
How about the accounts themselves? Are they integrated? Are they sync with Active Directory? Or they're in the cloud?
But I don't know that.
Okay, so who creates your accounts for you?
Well, previously our administrative assistant, but now Zach does through.
All right, so your accounts are created, and then he or she creates the password for you, and then you have the ability to change your own password on your device. You can do that too. Okay, so we're not in sync with Active Directory. All right, that's fine. It's going to need to get a little bit of background. How long have you had the devices?
2 weeks.
So you're brand spanking
They're
new.
brand new.
Okay.
Some are just coming out of the box.
Got it. How many have actually logged in before? Anybody logged in yet? How many have actually logged into their Google account?
On the Chromebook. We've had Gmail for a long time, so like using the Google.
Okay. Can you tell me your name and scheme for your accounts? How do you log in? Everybody have something at what? What's the last part?
GileadChristianschool.org.
Gilead Christian School. The whole thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Username at gileadchristianschool.org, right? Okay, that's good. You might want to, okay, that's
No,
good.
that's a good
Yeah, GCS would be great.
That was taken.
That was taken.
Yeah, there are other
Yeah, so-
GCSs out there.
So, all right, so gileadchristianschool.org, right? And how about your students? How do
They're
they-
also logging in with their name at gileadchristianschool.org.
Okay, perfect. And they all have their accounts?
And I'll have email.
They don't know that yet. but
They don't
yes.
know, but they will have their accounts. Okay. And who's going to manage their accounts?
Zach.
Zach
Chrome
is
management
going to
console.
manage.
Zach comes in once a week.
Okay, I'm just trying to get some
Yeah.
information because I want to figure out.
So we set the Chrome management console up for him, and Zach will come in once a week to help.
Set it up. All right, a student forgets their password, what are you going to do?
We have them unless they change them when they log in
Okay.
for the first time.
All right, I'm just trying to figure out if you have a process in place, if something happens, because inevitably you'll have a student come in, I don't remember my password, even though it's probably the word password.
Yeah.
Right? We actually had staff too, not just students. We set the password to password and they can't remember what the
I
password
think
is.
then we would have to contact Zach and he would have to reset it.
Gotcha.
as far as
Okay,
I'm
so
aware.
you have some process in
Yeah.
place ready to go. All right. Do all of your students have a Chromebook or do you have classroom sets?
7 through 12, every student will have one.
Okay?
The elementary, we have a set.
All right, and every teacher has a Chromebook?
Yes.
All right, perfect, okay. Just trying to figure out what we have going on, okay. That's great. Every student, 7 and 8, has one, and your elementary has classroom sets that they could use in the classroom, and every instructor has it. Okay. All right, so we're just gonna start with just the basics of the Chromebook itself, just a little bit about the OS. And then I'm gonna start directing more questions at you to help us steer which direction we want to go when we start the training. And we want you to be able to ask questions as we go through. If there's something you want to be able to do, if we're gonna hit it, we'll say, hey, we're gonna hit that in 10 minutes, or we'll stop where we're at and try to keep moving forward. So you've got the Chromebooks in the classrooms, you have them as yourself, so tell me a little bit about what your objectives are. Why did you get the Chromebooks in the classrooms, or why, you got Google and you have them in there, so you can tell me a little bit about what you see as a benefit of having these over just your pencil and paper? Just to kind of help me out.
They're gonna be a little loud.
Oh, go ahead. Anyone?
I like the sharing documents because I have to send stuff to other teachers, and I like the option of just sharing it within the Google documents and stuff like that in Google Drive.
Okay,
So that would be easier for me.
all right. What else? Yeah,
For my students, it'll be having internet availability for research purposes. At their
Okay.
fingertips.
So
Being able
research.
to create their own documents.
all right. What else? Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I get the option to just integrate different math applications and stuff just via using some of the options that Google provides. And
Okay.
some of the other websites that are out there.
Have you found some apps that work?
I found some apps, some general teaching apps, and then some other math-related apps, and then some websites.
That they
So,
can use?
yeah.
Okay,
I was just gonna say, that having them become more familiar with the things that Office can provide, like
Productivity tools.
putting together PowerPoints, Excel spreadsheets, things like that.
sure. I mean, you know, and even adding to all that is that you want your students and yourself to be able to manage their own information, right? And in order to do that, they have to have access to that information all the time. And it sounds to me like you want to use this as a communication tool and as a collaborative tool, right? So the communication piece is I'm actually just one way usually, or two way, but I'm sending you information, waiting you to send back. And the collaborative piece is that we could actually work on something at the same time. We could actually take notes in class together. I could share my notes with you, and while we're sitting in class, we're taking notes, and you're taking them at the same time in the same document that we're sharing together. And that, you know, that's very powerful as well. We were at a conference where we were all in a different location, and we had one document that we shared amongst all of us. And so what we're doing is then each of us start taking notes, you know, in there. So I would go through and maybe look at what the notes were taken over here and think, oh, ask this question. You know, so we're able to actually participate, all of us, in all the events at one time, being able to share, you know, sharing that. Or you have students that work on a project together, and they can collaborate on one single project, you know, and and share that out. So there's a lot of different things you can do. Okay, so we kind of have an idea there, and students can then get their information wherever they can, right? Because prior to this, were they able to get to their files? Were you able to get to your files? You know, if you weren't here at school. So this opens up a lot of different opportunities. One last question on apps. Do students have the ability to install apps on their devices?
I don't believe so. I think we would have to install them for them.
Okay, so you have to push the apps out. So what process do you have in place? Let's say you're teaching your math class and you find an app that you really want your students to have, but they can't load it on their devices. So how do you get that to your students?
Didn't know they couldn't download them, so I had no idea.
Okay, so what you need to think about a little bit, that process. All right, how do I get the app that I want my students to use onto their devices? Okay? Most schools, by the way, don't allow students to install apps. And the reason that is because there are going to be 5,000 Candy Crush games on there, right? They're going to be all over the place. So, and that's not a bad thing, but at the same time, you know, you want to have an app that you want to use, you need to have access, the students have access to it. So there's a couple things they can do. As your administrators, they can set up a web store just for Gilead Christian. And when they go to the store, they can scroll down and they'll see Gilead Christian store. And all the apps that you've approved for them to have will be sitting there and they have an option to download it. That's one thing. The second thing you can do is you can automatically push the apps out to everyone. So let's say, for instance, we have a calculator app. Everybody's going to use a calculator, okay? Or this WeVideo, which gives them the ability to take a picture or create videos for their presentations, and you want every student to have it, then you have the ability from the administrative side to push out that app to every device. So as soon as they log on, it's already there for them. They don't have to download it or anything. It's ready to go. So you might want to just kind of think about that process, you know, as you're going through this. All right. Any questions from you? Any expectations that you have that you want to let me know ahead of time before we get rolling? I like zero expectations. You gotta like that. You set that level.
We're starting at the ground,
Yeah, you feel pretty,
taking us up.
you feel pretty good about that when the expectations are like that. All right, great. So let's just take a look at the desktop itself. It's a little bit different. How many are Windows users in here? Anybody Windows users? Anybody Windows 8 users yet? A couple Windows 8? Have anybody seen Windows 10? You like Windows 10? If you like Windows 8, you love Windows 10. We just started playing with it a little bit. How many Mac users do we have? We have Mac users too. Perfect, okay. So now we're looking at the Chrome OS. So we have Chrome OS, which is kind of web-based, and in that Chrome OS, we've got our web browser and we have apps. So let's take a look at what they have here. So in the little bottom little tiles there is their app list. All right, so in Windows, we're used to a little start button there, and it pulls up all, you know, my applications and so forth. They call it the app list. And this little thing down here is called the shelf. And that's kind of hard to see because I don't know why I have the sheet up here. I think one day I looked at the picture and it was like calming to me, so I left it as my desktop. So that's my desktop. So there's a shelf here, and then we have a status bar on the right-hand side. So let's start with the status bar for a minute. So we're going to go over and click on the status bar. We'll take a look at this, and this is where I can sign out of the device. This is where I can power it off. This is where I can lock the device. This is how I would connect to a wireless network. And all of you, I'm sure, already know, and I'm sorry if you already know some of this, we're just going to kind of quickly go through it. But this is what you would do to power it off, lock it, sign out. How many of you used the question mark? Nobody's used the question mark? All right, let's click on the question mark. This gives you a lot of good information. This question mark, by the way, and I think there's so many shortcuts drive me nuts, but I'm pretty sure it's control question mark when you're in other applications, and it'll give you the help menu for anything you're in. So right now, I'm just right at the desktop, and I'm hitting the question mark, which is kind of their help menu. This kind of guides me through different things. How do you set up a printer? Well, just hit the question mark, go to printing, and it'll walk you through what you need to do step by step to set up your printer. Managing applications, connecting devices. So use the help on the Google because it's really nice. And you know, their search and help is very powerful. And it'll work within each application. We'll take a look at that here in a little bit. And we'll have some shortcut keys. I do not know every Google shortcut. I don't even care about knowing every Google shortcut. There's probably 5 or 6 that maybe I'd want to know. Same thing with Microsoft and everything else, right? There's 5 billion shortcut keys. If you're a shortcut person, great. I'm gonna provide you with a document that has a ton of them on there. For instance, I don't know about your device, but mine doesn't have cap locks. So when I was using this, I'm like, where is the cap locks? Do you have cap locks on yours? Or you don't either? Okay, so I don't think any of the new ones do. I think the Google guys sitting down there were talking and thinking, let's take the cap lock button off, right? We could put something else there. They actually put the little search thing, a little magnifying glass in its place. So they needed a place for that. They thought, nah, we don't need cap locks. So they took that off. So it's actually control and the search key, those two combinations will toggle back and forth between your cap locks. That's how you turn that on. So, you know, just a couple little things, but there'll be a document that we'll send you here in a little bit that'll have that. Okay? All right. It's what? It's Alt? Oh, Alt, I'm sorry. So it's not control. It's Alt plus the search key. Sorry. And again, that's in my shortcut sheet. Okay, that's how much I look at it, but I would have figured it out eventually. Alt and short and another thing, thank you. Even right clicking, how do you right click? There you go, 2 fingers, 2 finger tap. So you put 2 fingers on and click to get the right click. 1 finger, left click, 2 finger click, right click. Scrolling, 2 fingers for scrolling. Mac users used to using 2 fingers for scrolling, same thing. 2 fingers will help you scroll up and down. If it doesn't scroll, you might be on a window that doesn't scroll.
No, there is.
Click in the window and just 2 fingers and start scrolling like crazy.
So you have to make sure your arrows don't mess with
Is there a reason the help wouldn't be?
Your question mark? You mean your-
Yeah, it's just loading.
Oh, it's still loading?
Yeah.
That's not a good sign. Shouldn't be doing that.
We could check, make sure it's connected, we probably could reboot the device. Have these ever been restarted or powered down, or they were just powered down this morning, just powered on? Even with Google, even though it's not like this, you know, big Windows operating system, there are times you have to restart the device. And yeah, maybe something I would try first, just to restart the thing and then log back in. If you can't after that, we'll have Thomas take a look at it and get it going. Okay, so that's basically the settings menu. You can actually dig down a little deeper in the settings. You know, you have your connectivity, your appearance, you can set your theme, you know, wallpaper, do some different things in here. You could manage other users. I don't know how yours is set up, but most schools have it set up where your students can only log into this device with the account at Gilead Christian. They can't log in with any other Google account. And you know, if it's not set up that way and you don't want it, that's fine. But that's a typical scenario where you have to log in with your accounts that's provided by the school. And if it isn't, and that's what you want, it's something that you can request. And we do have crickets over there.
Yes.
That's some food for our thing over there. All right. It's kind of funny because I was just at Highland for some of their classes and I asked a question and it was dead silence. And the one lady said, crickets. You know, there wasn't any obviously, but this kind of, I thought, well, we have the crickets this time, so we're good. I like that background noise. There's a reset settings button down here. Sometimes we found some of our students were, I don't know, whatever the reason, they go to a website and it kind of closes the web browser, you know, and we try to go to the same site and you can't get on it. And another person will come in theirs and they get on it fine. So what we'll do is we'll go in the advanced settings down here and we'll reset it. And once you reset it, kind of clears all the cache, it kind of resets, it kind of clears everything, and once we do that, it works. So just as a quick note, you know, if you're having issues with the browser, if it's not working like it's supposed to, you can reboot the device. If you still get it, you can go into the advanced settings and see, are you in it now? You're still doing the same thing? You always have one of those problem students, you know, you have that in class, you have one of those kids. Yeah, we found one over here. All right, can you look at their device real quick? Okay, so we'll take a look and see what's going on with your device and making sure you're connected. And this does happen, it could happen in your classroom as well. So what would you do first? have them restart the thing. Because sometimes if it hasn't been restarted, it just needs to kind of clean all the files and reboot it. And if that doesn't work, we could reset it. So we'll see what he does to get it fixed, and then we'll tell everybody this is what another step you can use. Yeah.
How do you restart it?
Oh, restarting the device itself? So when you click there, really what I do is just power it down. You just power it off and let it completely power off. And on these, and it should be on yours too, once you shut the lid, and then you power it off, shut the lid, and you open the lid, it powers on automatically.
What's this power button in the corner of the keyboard?
You can power it on with that too.
Can you power it off with that?
You know, I never tried to power it off with
Yes.
that.
If you
Okay.
push it,
Hold it
it
together,
gives
hold
you
it
a
down.
shutdown on the left corner.
Let's try it.
Yeah,
Try it.
when you push it, it gives you.
Push it once and what happens?
Well, if I push it
You
once,
have to
I just
hold it a
log
second.
out.
And then in the left corner, it gives you a
Hold it
shutdown.
down.
But is it okay to do it that way? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's how my other computers are set up, because I'm used to it, but.
Yeah. The Windows, it doesn't like that, right? Okay, so that's just a little bit about the, we got the desktop, we've got the loan sheet there, we have the status bar on the right, the shelf across the bottom, and then the apps list on the left-hand side. So we're gonna go ahead and start on the apps list, and go ahead and click on that. It's already pre-populated with some of the, standard Google apps, or whatever apps that your school provides for you. So, notice that this is kind of grayed out, right? I've got a second screen over here. If I had more, you can see it, where I can scroll through different windows on different apps. So we've got, a number of them that are available to students. I don't know if all of these are available to students or not, but the majority of them probably are. And some that we put on here that we test, right? So we have a group, your teachers could have one, and you set up a test group or whatever, and you put some apps in there and just kind of play around with that our students don't get. We also offer Office 365 to our students. That's why you see Word and Excel on this. This isn't actually Word on this device. This is a link back to an Office 365 account. So when it prompts you for a login, as soon as you log in, boom, it goes right to your OneDrive, and then you can do Word documents and everything else. So we want to probably start one thing at a time, right? We'll start with Google if you want to add the Office. Here's our philosophy. We actually offer both Office and Google to all students. And the reason that is because, one, we have the resources to be able to support it. But two, we want our students to have both flavors. We want them to learn both. Because when they go out in the business world and in college, we don't know what they're going to use, and we want them to be able to use both. And sometimes you might be a hardcore Google user, but you really like Excel, and you really want to be able to do something with PowerPoint maybe that Slides doesn't provide you, and you still have the opportunity to do those things. So that's the only reason you see that here. So don't let this think that this is actually Word. It's really not. It's really a link to an Office account. Yes.
I'm assuming that's like a paid app. Is that
No.
one that you have to purchase?
No. These are all free.
Do we have that one?
I don't see them on.
Well, we're
No.
sorry. Okay.
No, but you would have to have an Office 365 account, which is free to education, that this will link to and get you your Word document. So this isn't actually a Microsoft Word application on this. This application links you to your Word account. All right? Okay, so here we are with our apps. And the major ones, right, we want to go over for sure is the Google Drive. And Google Drive is what? What's Google Drive?
Online storage?
Yeah, it's your online storage. It's your container of your information, right? I've got basically, do I have a whiteboard? Yeah, is this a, yeah. Use one of these things here.
Are those markers the right ones, Tara?
Expo,
Yeah.
logo, or, right.
Yes, sir.
All
That's the
right.
right one.
So what does it mean when we say my files are in the cloud? What does that actually mean? Somebody tell me, are my files on this machine or are they somewhere else? What does it mean? Yeah. Somewhere else, or where at?
On the World Wide Web.
The World Wide Web somewhere, right? All right, so here we have, we're gonna put some buildings over here, and I did get a name art, but we have some buildings over here. So this is on the West Coast, and over here on the East Coast, I have some more buildings. Okay, so we're on the East Coast over here. And we're Google corporations, and inside here, I've got a ton of servers and storage sitting in here. Tons of it. And over here. So when you're storing information in the cloud, here you are, okay, and this is as good as I can do, and you're on your computer, and you're saving stuff to Google Drive, that is actually sitting here, somewhere over here, which they have then, you know, copied over here, it's all over the place. But you're actually physically putting it somewhere. It doesn't just sit here in the cloud hanging there in a bunch of bits, you know what I mean? It's actually on a server somewhere. And then that's copied, you know, all over the place. And you can access it here, wherever. That's where it's really going. Now with the new drive, and on these devices, you actually have a copy of it sitting here, and you have a copy of it sitting right here. And these are in sync with each other. So if I'm not on the internet, I can still get to my files because they still reside here locally on this little device. Okay? So once I get connected to the internet, they'll sync back up again. And it doesn't matter, if I come over here and use another device and log in, I've got another person here, and I log in, all my files are here too. And I don't have to copy them from this machine to this machine, because they're all going back where? You know, to the same place, and being brought back to my computer. Okay? How's the art? Good? Good? Okay, does that make sense? I mean, you may have already known it, but sometimes I need to see it. I need to see what they're actually talking about when you're saying in the cloud or whatever. So the Chromebooks are really nice now because they have that offline access that they never used to have, but now they have it. So if a student doesn't have internet, they still can get their files. They go to McDonald's, Panera's, or wherever and get it free there, but they still have it. Okay? All right. So the Google Drive is that container. This drive is this folder sitting here on this server somewhere. I don't know where. It's sitting over here. That's what that is. And then we have that same file that is a copy of it. A sync copy is sitting here as well. So one thing you can do is if you look at the apps, if I right-click on an app, I have a few options here. So how do I right-click again? Two fingers, right? So we'll right-click on any one of these apps. I have open as regular tab, open as pin tab. Is that a sneeze? Bless you. I don't know if that's a sneeze or a cough, though. Well, bless you. Open as a window, open maximized, remove from Chrome, app information. Okay, so we have all these different things here. You can do whatever you like in here. I'm going to only tell you a couple of my preferences, which means nothing to you, but I just want to go over a couple of things. On my Google Drive, personally, I like to leave it as a pin tab. And the reason that is, and we'll show you what this means, the difference between the regular tab and pin tab. So I'm going to change this as regular tab, that's the default. And I'm going to open up my Google Drive. Notice in the Google Drive, I've got a tab sitting here, and I've got an X here where I can close that tab out. I could open up a new tab, right? We've got the little gray thing over here. I can open up a second tab. And when you're in your Google Drive and you open up a Word document or anything, it always opens in a new tab. And there's never any save, right? It's automatically saving for you. So to close the document, you just hit the X in the tab and close the tab. There's no file save, file close, right? We just hit the X and we're done, okay? So that's just a regular tab. If I go down here, and we'll right click on this and we'll change this to open as a pin tab. And I click on my Google Drive. Notice now there's just a little short thing over here that doesn't have any X on it. So I can't close that tab out. If I'm in my Google Drive, I don't want to close my Google Drive out. I always want to be pinned to the browser. So I've got that little tiny thing here now that the only way to get rid of this is if I close the entire browser. And now I still have my regular tabs that I could open. Notice the difference. Here's a pin tab and a regular tab that I can close, and I can click back and I'm back on my drive. Okay, so that's what that meant on here. How many have used that already? Anybody? Okay, open as a window or open maximized. Some people with their email like to have their email in a separate window, which is fine. You can do that. You can say, okay, on my Gmail now, I'm going to right click here. I want to say I want to open that as a window. And it's going to bring it up in its own little window here without any tabs. Or you could say I want it maximized, and it's going to bring it in its own window, maximizing your screen with no tabs. Okay? So those are just those different options if you want to be able to do that. The options piece will give you the options for that application. And we'll go through some of these later. So there's a lot of different ones. So for instance, in your Gmail, if I hit the options, it's gonna take me to crickets. The options for my Gmail, and there's a ton of them. And we'll go through these. Have you been through your options on your email yet? Okay, we'll go through them. We'll go through them, you guys can change the different settings. So that's what that will do. And notice that was by default opening in a regular tab. That's why you see it opening up in the same window as everything else, just in a new tab. Okay, any questions? Easy enough? No? Am I going too fast? If I go too fast, and sometimes I have a tendency.
Slow down.
Yeah, just say, please.
Please,
slow
thank
down.
you.
So they get two
I got
guys
it.
to right click. Got it.
Okay. All right, and then I tell you what, then what we'll do then very quickly is just quick reviews. Very quickly, where's the app list at?
Yeah.
What's the app list do?
Gives you a list of your apps.
Hey, Google's got something right? They finally got something right. We're gonna see some other things that they don't have right. So it gives you a list of apps. App list, list of apps. Very intuitive. There we go. We're good. What about the status bar?
Shut down.
Shut down.
Where's it at?
Bottom right.
Bottom right corner. This is where I can shut down, log out. How do I connect to another wireless network? I go to McDonald's, open this up, I want to connect to the network. How do I do that?
Click on
Yeah,
the
that's
Y.
true. It should do it automatically when you're right there. Or click where?
On the
Settings.
settings.
Yeah,
The bar on the right.
status bar, you'll see it right there. Or when you open this up, if it can't find one, when you go to log in, it's gonna search and say no network available in the middle, and that's where you'll choose it and connect to their guest network. Okay, I'm in the app list. Got the crickets going again. Bad time, it was silent, I heard nothing. All right, so we're gonna click on the app list, and again, right click is what?
Two fingers.
Two fingers, and I just have a few options. These are just little personal preferences, how you want things set up, okay? All right, are we caught back up? You did great. I would give everybody an A so far. I mean, that's so far we all have it. All right, well, let's go ahead and click on the Google Drive, because this is that. What is the Google Drive again? Storage. It's my storage in the cloud, or my storage actually on here, because they're in sync, and we'll look at that in a minute. So these are they're not flying around in there, they actually reside somewhere, and the computer is sitting somewhere all over the world. They're actually somewhere in some storage somewhere. Okay. So let's take a look at this. How many of you in your Google Drive does it say new? How many says new there? How many says create?
It says create.
It says create. You says new? Yours says new? Perfect, okay. Here we are, a bunch of Google guys in the room. What are we gonna do, guys? You have nothing to do today. Why don't we update our drive and let's change some names? Because right now it says, create, it'll say drive, my drive, and then it says shared with me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna update this, and we're not gonna call it shared with me anymore, because that makes sense, just like the app list makes sense. We're gonna call it incoming. So now it's gonna be incoming, not shared with me. But there are some nicer features of the new drive, and that's what you're gonna want to do. You know, it's almost like, okay, we were running Windows XP for a while, now we're gonna upgrade to Windows 7 and Windows 8 and so forth. Same thing, I know some of you like to be stuck in the XP world forever, but we wanna keep kind of moving forward. There are advantages to the newer stuff. So if you click on the cog on the right-hand side, the little gray cog there, click on that cog, right here. Oh, okay. And choose experience the new drive, is that one of your options?
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and click experience the new drive. Notice mine says leave the new drive because we're on it, and the ones that have new, you're ready to go. So let's experience the new drive so we're all looking at the same thing. This little cog up here, and then experience the new drive. And then let me know once that's ready. You got the thing spinning and you're ready to show the new stuff. All right, crickets, let's hear it. We have a pause, we have a pause going on here.
I clicked.
Okay?
And it reached somewhere out into a server. It has given me 2 documents from last school year.
That's still with your account.
That's still, they were sent to me at my name, Gillian Christian School.
I
Okay.
did,
Yes.
in email.
They're
They're gonna
there.
be there until you get rid of them.
Oh,
Yep.
right.
Storage, by the way, if you look down here, mine says 3 gig of 30 gig used. They're gonna do what Microsoft just did here eventually, and it should be coming pretty soon. Microsoft says, okay, on your Skype, your OneDrives for schools, I'm gonna give you a terabyte. I'm not just gonna give you 10 gig or 30 gig, you have a terabyte, which is 1,000 gigs. Which, right, you and your kids' can store their stuff there. Google's gonna do the same thing. They're gonna give everybody a terabyte of space, not just a 30 gig, and it'll just happen. So down here in the bottom, you'll see eventually 1,000 gig or 1 terabyte. So you're gonna have plenty of space. Okay, so do we all have this set up where we say new? And again, it doesn't say shared with me anymore, it says incoming. Okay, so that's the stuff that's coming in to me, I guess. I don't know how that's more intuitive, but I guess it is. Incoming is what we're gonna use. All right, so let's look at the drive for a minute, and let's see what we can do with this. I mean, all of you, I've assumed, have used your drive at some point. Has everyone used their drive?
No, not
No.
everyone has.
All right, so here's our containers.
They don't know.
So we've got blank slates, love this, all right? Now, everybody organizes things differently in their head. And Google's really different than everybody else, because Google says, there's no organization, you just make stuff. Our search is so good, you just search for stuff. And don't worry about putting it in folders and doing those type of things. That's great, Google, that is nice. The problem is, though, is that if you're like me, what did I name that file? What was that thing supposed to be called? So I have to organize things a little bit, so I like to create some folders, and sometimes folders within folders and so forth. So however you organize things in your mind, you're gonna do here today. So we're gonna create a folder together. Whatever you wanna call it, it can be something that you're actually gonna use right now, or some generic name, whatever you wanna do, but we're gonna create a folder, and then we're gonna show you how to share information and what sharing means. Because let me tell you about the Google House. Google's house is wide open. The doors are open, the windows are up, and it's like, come on in. The Microsoft house next to it's got the doors closed, the windows are closed, and they're locked. And it says, nah, I need to let you in. So just realize that when you're sharing, because with Google, when you share something, by default, I give you all kinds of rights. By default. For instance, I share a document with you, or a folder. She automatically has edit rights to that file, and she automatically has the rights to take that file and share it with him and give him permission to it. Then he can take it and give 3 of you permission to it, and on and on and on. And my only intent was to share it with her and to let her edit it. Now she's taken the document I shared with her, and she gave, it's gonna grow. Boom, boom, boom. Now 1,000 people have access to this document that I only shared with her. So by default, that's what you get. There's Google's open house. So we need to make sure you need to make sure when you share things that you work on the permissions right away. So we're gonna kind of go over those here in a second, okay? First thing we wanna do is create a folder. Let's do this together. So we're gonna get new. They probably thought create was too long of a word, so we're gonna make it new. And we're gonna choose a couple things here. The first one is a folder. So let's go ahead and make a folder. And let's give it a name. So think about this. Let's make it something that you're gonna use. Either a folder for you to organize your information, a folder you wanna share with one of your classes, a folder you wanna share with one of your subjects, a folder you wanna share with one of your colleagues. Whatever the case is, just come up with something, and if it's the pressure of coming up with a name is too great, then just call it My Share real quick, just so you have something on there, okay? So it's too great for me, so I'm gonna just use My Gilead Christian School Share. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna call it the Gilly Christian School Share, because I'm gonna share it with you then, and then we'll put some information in there.
Excuse me. I have a box below the name folder box. I'm creating a new folder. It says click once to select a file or folder, or double click to open it.
It's like telling you about the features that are available.
Okay, how do I make that go away?
You just
Click the
Okay, when you create your folder, it just shows up in your drive and it should be highlighted blue. By the way, how many of it looks like this? Like these big things like this. Does anybody have the big files yet? Okay, they're great if you have a 27-inch screen, but when you don't, the big files sometimes can become nauseating, so you can change it between the big view, which is their tile view, or their list view, and it's just right here. So, personal preference, some like the big shiny objects, no problem, you can do that. And somewhat, you know, it all depends. So I'm gonna use it for our case, the list view, just so we can see more, okay? And that's just this thing over here.
All right.
Yeah, the grid view or the list view, yep, and you'll have lines across there. What do the three dots mean? Right, they have three dots instead of this way, you're used to seeing three dots, they have them this way. What do the three dots mean?
More actions.
More, right? It means more. So they're like, okay, we want to put more stuff on here. I can't put it there, so I'm going to put three dots. I'm going to put them this way so I have even more room. So I can click on the three dots. Some of the staff are like on the other one, how do I delete something? How do I delete a document? I don't see delete. When you click on the more, one of the options is going to be delete. More than likely, if there's something you don't see the option of, if you click on those little three dots, you'll see more options, and that'll help you out.
You have to click on an item first.
Ah, yeah, make sure you have something highlighted.
Open.
Okay.
Yeah, let's click on that. Well, I'd like you to click on the folder you just created.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we have our folder there? Okay, we have it highlighted. What we're gonna do is we're going to choose this guy right here with the plus sign next to him. And notice it says, when I hover over it, it's gonna tell me, it's gonna give me a little help thing there. It says share, GCS share. For me, share whatever your folder name is. So let's go ahead and click on that. Okay, now mine says people at Gold Digital Academy with a link in view. All right, so by default, our default sharing is that. This is their device. I don't know what yours says by default.
Says people.
People. Okay, and that's fine. You know, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and choose this advanced option at the bottom. You see where it says advanced?
Yep.
I'm going to click on that. When I set permissions on a folder, everything I toss in that folder, those permissions propagate all the way down, right? So the nice thing is if I share a folder with this class, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to share this folder, which I'm going to do. Anything I toss in that folder, you have the same access to that file as you do to the folder that I shared with you, which makes it really nice. We're going to go over a couple scenarios where you want your kids to hand something in. A good way of doing that, you know, kind of a poor man's Dropbox, and we'll kind of set that up. So right now, look at this when I hit advanced. This says editors will be allowed to add people and change the permissions. Remember I told you earlier, I shared a document with her. She could share it and give anybody else access to it that she wants, and then he could share it all the way down the line. So by default, that's what Google allows you to do. Notice also by default that, let's see here, I start typing somebody in, you know, name in here. What does it say here, the rights they have? Edit. So it automatically says, man, you could edit this, and you can go ahead and give anybody the same right to pass it along if they want to. There may be an occasion that you want to do that. Oh, that's not a problem. But you just want to make sure that you note that. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to click change on that piece. and I'm gonna say, no, I don't want editors to do, I'm gonna say only the owner can change permissions. Editors cannot add or remove people or change the visibility of the item. That really should be the default. I'm not sure why it isn't, but like I said, Google's house is wide open. So I'm gonna change that. Now, here's the one piece that you have to understand. Unless they change it in this latest release, that doesn't propagate down to all the files, that setting. So every file that I put in there, I'm gonna have to go in, if I give them edit rights. Now, somebody said, what if you give it just view rights? Well, if it's just view, you don't have to worry about it, because view, people can't do that anyways.
Yeah.
Then you'll have to go in each file and change that. And we're hoping they change that, you know, we're hoping they're gonna make that, those to follow the permissions as well, so. Okay.
You have to do that with each folder that you create.
You have to do that with each file you create in that folder, if you gave everybody edit rights and you didn't want them to be able to disperse that document. Yeah. Yeah, that's the bad thing. So I think if that's the case, if I'm gonna share a folder with you with edit rights, and we collaborate on a lot of documents, I'm gonna have to know you pretty well. And I'm not gonna mess with that setting. You know what I mean? At this point, we know each other really well. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I know you're not gonna take my stuff and send it all over the place. Otherwise, I don't trust you. Yeah, no, I might not. I don't trust you. Now I'm gonna go in and change every single document and say, no, you can't distribute it. You can edit it, but you can't give it to anybody else. But I want you to be aware of those settings, and you can do whatever you want with them, but you need to be aware of what that is, okay? For instance, you know, if I'm doing an assignment with students and I want them to say, hey, here's your assignment, go to your assignments folder, you're gonna have due access to it. I don't want you to edit this stuff in there. I only want you to be able to see it to do your assignment. I'll give you another place to turn it in, but I don't want you modifying my assignment that I gave you, okay? So if you give it due rights from the beginning, anything you toss in here, you're golden with, all right? All right, do you guys happen to have a group email address?
Yes, we have, well, there are actually two, and it's northteachers@gileadchristianschool.org
All right.
and southteachers@gileadchristianschool.org.
All right, so we have North Teachers, right? North Teachers at
Gilead Christian
Gilead
School.
Christian.
Yeah. .org.
Got it.
And the
All right.
same with South, we have South teachers also.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do.
Happy.
We're gonna jump a little bit here. I wanna get this folder shared first. We're gonna create a form. How many of you created forms before? Online, you can do online quizzes. Have you done online quizzes yet with forms? All right, so we're gonna create a form together, and the form we're gonna create for you is gonna have one simple question on it. It's gonna ask you for your email address. And then when you submit that, then he's gonna get the information, then copy and paste all your accounts onto this, because you're not part of our organization, so I can't just search for you, and I don't wanna type everybody's email address. You know, or hand that piece of paper around, can everybody write your email address on here? Then I can't read half of them, and I gotta retype them. So we're gonna do this, and we thought, you know what, it's a good way of doing it, show you how to do a form. You can fill it out, and then we'll give you permissions to this folder I just created during our break. We'll try to get them in at that time, and then everybody's gonna have access to the folder I just shared with you. And then we'll start putting some documents in. Does that make sense? Are you doing okay so far? I'm talking too much in the beginning, I know. I'm talking a lot, I hear you. But we wanna get you guys doing some things. So I would like you to take the folder that you're sharing and share it with a neighbor, share it with somebody in here, just for this class. Yeah, so let's just share it with somebody. Can somebody give me their email address?
Gary. Dot. Miller.
Gary.Miller?
Yes.
Okay, at the whole thing.
At the whole thing. GILEAD.
Gilead Christian.
Just one person.
Oh, it's school too? Gilead Christian School.
School.org.
I'm not typing everybody's name. We're gonna copy and paste those bad boys, I can tell you that. All right, so Gary, not that I don't trust you, but I'm really just saying you can view it. Now, notice this when I share this with him. I want you to see this as well. By default, it sends him a notification. And that notification is their standard, hey, Mike shared a folder with you, here's a link to it, here's the folder's name, okay? Maybe I wanna add something to that, so I can click on add a message, and there's where I can put my own personal little message on here. Hey Gary, remember I talked about that folder we're gonna share for this project? You know, here's the link, give me a call tonight at 8, or something. I could add a little note to that and then send it out, okay? Or I could uncheck it and say, no, you know, I'm sending something to 160 teachers, I'm not gonna shoot them an email either. It's gonna be in their inbox, they know it's coming, I'm gonna uncheck the box and not send them a notification. So by default, when you share something with somebody, it shoots them an email as well, with a link back to the folder or file.
So it's not in the drive or anywhere? It's shared? We shared, I just don't know where to find it.
Okay, that's like, look, I love this, you guys are all getting ahead, right? Just like you do in your class, so they share it, where are you gonna find it?
Well, I see it in the email.
Okay, it's in an email, what did we talk about earlier? What name did they change? Thank you, what was it now? Incoming, what was it called before?
Shared
with me. See, there's that, not intuitive anymore. If you saw shared with me, you'd probably clicked on it, but now it says incoming.
Okay.
Yeah, when you click there, you'll see it. All right, so I'll go ahead and we'll send this. Are you sure? Now, I want you to look at this as well. I'm sharing with Gary Miller@gileadchristianschools.org. And it says, are you sure you want to share it with this guy? Because this school is not your organization, all right? I'm sharing something with somebody that doesn't belong to my organization. So it's kind of nice to have that warning. I'm gonna say, yeah, yep, I do want to share that. And it's gonna send him the invitation, and notice that it has his name here now. Okay, now, so we're gonna just jump for a second. Somebody asked earlier, not in here, the other class, I shared a file with students in my class, and I gave them edit rights. And the reason I know that is because these kids are changing my file. What can I do? Can I change permissions? And what do you think the answer is to that?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So how would I change? All right, I gave you view rights, and I'm gonna hit done. Okay, so now you've got rights, view rights to this folder. Okay. I need Gary to edit the information in there, not just to see it. He needs to be able to add stuff there. How do I change his permissions? Can somebody walk me through it?